Hello everybody, if you're new here, welcome to my channel, and if not, then welcome back to another one of my videos. Today's video is going to be my December reading wrap-up, and this one, I was actually going to film it a lot earlier in the month because I read way too many books, and now I have to talk about the 28 books, or maybe even 29 books that I read in the month of December. So this is going to be a long video to start off with, but also it's a special video because January is my birthday month, and I'm very excited. A lot of things have either been planned for me or I planned them, and I don't know, it's a celebration month. It's currently New Year's Eve day when I'm filming this. You guys will see it a little bit later, but yeah, that is why there's a balloon in the background that says happy birthday. And actually, I'm wearing my birthday dress right now. I'm not gonna get up and show you guys it, but this is like the top of it. It's a really nice, like, knitted kind of warm dress that you would expect for someone who lives in Canada. And I don't wear dresses a lot, but this one I was like, you know what, I'll take a chance on it and I'll do it. And I also got birthday nails. That is something I never do. I just have my like normal boring nails, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. So I did it, and I got them a bit long because now I'm kind of annoyed at them. But the greatest thing about these nails is that I can always go like this because I have a lot of anxiety. I bite my nails, and instead I just go like this now because there's no way I can get to my actual nail to bite them. So it's kind of great. We gotta get into this video, guys. It's the end of December. There's a lot of books that I read, and I have a lot of thoughts on all of them. If you watched any of my days of freyleyce, my first day on the 20th was a vlog where I read holiday themed novellas. That was a wild ride, and the majority of the books that I read this month are some of those. So like I read 10 of those novellas. Some of them I didn't put my thoughts on, some of them I did, and I'm actually just gonna insert like the clip at the end of that vlog of me rating them all because there was a lot of them, and I'm not gonna talk about them all again. I'll just insert the clip of that, but I will go over the ones that I didn't read in that vlog. So we're gonna start with the one that I read at the end of November, I think. But before we get into that, thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Happy New Year, happy 2023. I'm wishing you guys all the best year you've had yet. I don't know, all of that. I'm wishing you all a good year. Let's get into the last book that I read at the end of November, which was my like monthly DNF, okay? I kind of have this like pattern where I start a book sometime in the month, and then I like ignore it, and maybe I don't want to read it, maybe it didn't sound as interesting as I thought it would be, and then at the end of the month I realized I should just DNF this and start clean. November's DNF was Cruel Saint by Luna Kane. I saw this one on Instagram and it was in an edit, and I was like, oh, this looks really good, and that fooled me. It was not very good, so I just didn't really like it. I found it like dragged on too much, and I was not interested in it. I think I got 13 or 30%. I'm pretty sure it was 30% actually into it, and then I was like, why am I forcing myself to do this? I'm just not gonna read it. So I DNF'd it. 30%, like I said, I think, and yeah, it wasn't a great start to the month, but like I always have these at the end of the month, and I will probably have one in the beginning of January in the end of December that I'll DNF, and then we'll talk about it in my January wrap up. And then the next one I read was the Black Widow series by bday. The first one, I think you could guess it, is A Kiss of Venom. I'm literally not going to say a single thing about this because you can watch any of my other videos and just get like the whole lowdown on this book. I've recommended it like 4 times in 1 month, and it's kind of ridiculous how much I talk about this book. So yeah, I rated it, I think 4.75 stars, and then 3.75 on the spice scale as well. I love that book. I talk about it all the time. One of my top reads of 2022, and yeah, I'm literally not going to say anything more about that. But I then finished the rest of the series by bday, and the next one was A Lock of Death. I didn't like this one as much. I didn't like the characters in it, and that was why. I didn't really like what they went through, and it was like a forced proximity kind of thing where they were going on a like car ride for something, and the car ride lasted like the entire book. Like they got out of the car at 90%, and I was like, no. And I mean, it was like a road trip, whatever. They were on the road for like 8 days, but I was still like, no, this was so boring. I didn't find it enjoyable. It was a specific kind of dynamic that they had, and I can't really like summarize what that was, but I don't know, it just wasn't vibing for me. I didn't like that one as much. I rated it 4 stars, but it was like a very low 4 stars. It was like a 3.75, and then I rated it 2.5 on the spice scale because like, yes, they had a very like beautiful love, but I would rather them as side characters, not main characters, because I didn't really care about them. And then I read Web of Lies, which is the last book in the series, and this one I rated 4 stars. It was actually pretty fun. It was more of a like fast-paced fun book, and yeah, now that I'm looking back, I definitely had a lot of fun reading it. It wasn't one of those that I feel like I loved, but it was very interesting, very like quick-paced. I just didn't love some of the drama and the like extra, I don't know what that's called. Yeah, it's kind of just like extra drama that was added to it. That's kind of my only like negative comment on this one, but otherwise it's a like female assassin romance, and I loved that. It was very fun. There was a lot of like tension and chemistry. I don't know, those always go hand in hand. So I rated it 4 stars and 3.75 on the spice scale. I enjoyed that one. But then another DNF was The Sinner by Chantal Tessier, and I just think the Chantal Tessier is no longer for me, because I thought I loved The Ritual, but looking back, that book was a hot mess. And I know that a lot of people love that, so I'm not gonna like slam the book or anything, but I feel like it's just super chaotic and it goes in all sorts of directions, and I can't follow that plot anymore. So it was very similar with The Sinner here. I just could not follow the plot anymore, and they are all the same. Like The Ritual, Sabotage, and The Sinner, they all felt the same to me. Even though they followed different characters, I feel like it was just copy and paste and add a few different tropes and flares, and I just don't think I can read them anymore. I'm not enjoying the last 2. So that's the last book from this author that I think I'll read, but I DNF'd it at 25%. I couldn't really get into it like at all. But then I read back-to-back sapphic romances, starting with Broken Vows by Nadine O'Keefe and Scarlett King, I'm pretty sure. I think they co-wrote this one. So I really enjoyed this one. It was a sapphic mafia romance, and it was like Irish mafia and another one, I don't remember. But it was really fun. I thought it was very interesting. I loved the dynamic of them, and yeah, it was just a really fun read, and I liked the plot of it. It had a little bit of extra drama. I didn't love that part. But other than that, I really enjoyed this book, and I rated it 4 stars and then I think 3.75 on the spice scale. In my Goodreads review, I said it felt like a bit of insta-love and insta-hate, weirdly, so it was good. It wasn't perfect, but for a sapphic romance, I'll take what I can get, especially because this had mafia in it. It was very fun. But the second one that I read, which was Pretty Little Psycho by R.E. Bond. First up, I should have known by the cover and the name. That's not really the kind of books that I read now, and I should have taken those warning signs, but I didn't. This one, it was very interesting, and I'm gonna read you guys my Goodreads review because I feel like I summed up those thoughts perfectly. And then I messaged the person who had recommended this on Instagram, and I was like, girl, I think we had very similar thoughts here. And I mean, it's sapphic romance, so you take what you can get, right? And so for that, I give it like a 5 out of 5, just because it was sapphic romance. But for the actual book, it wasn't very good. So I wrote a like essay on this paragraph. The good parts were the angst of friends to lovers. It really gave that element. I liked that. And then it's a sapphic romance book that's dark, so I'm thankful. Those were the only 2 good things. And then the bad, the length. Oh, this book was like 500 pages. Why was it 500 pages? Basically nothing happened in like 200 of those pages. It was so not needed. I will say it's a 2nd generation book, so I feel like it would have been maybe more significant to me if I had read the 1st generation, but otherwise, why the hell did it need to be 500 pages? I did not care. And then secondly, the stereotypical feel of one of the heroines, because if it wasn't mentioned that she was a woman, I would have literally thought she was a guy. And that is so true. It felt like I was reading an MF romance with female smut, but that wasn't what it was like supposed to be, right? It did not deliver on that front. And then from there, I just had a lot of misconceptions about the lesbian community, and it made me think that the author didn't really do her research. And lastly, the I'm with him so I can't be with you. That got old, especially when they were still together for like 50% of the book. And then the amount of characters in this, I swear to God, there was like 50 characters and we knew all their names, and I'm like, I don't know who you are. And I couldn't understand half of like the dynamics of those characters, and it made for a bit of a mess. So I didn't really enjoy this one. I rated it 3.5 after I read it, but I feel like I should lower that a little bit because it was not as good as I wanted it to be, but it was 3.5 on the spice scale. And then I read Brutal Conquest by Lilith Vincent. I was definitely anticipating this, and I was a little disappointed, not in the way that like the book was bad, but like I think I hyped it up too much in my mind. Yeah, it had like solid elements to it, but I didn't fully enjoy it. I didn't love the dynamic of it, and I felt like it felt a little bit short for me. That being said, I think it's a great book and I'll probably recommend it, but it wasn't as good as the first book in this duet or series, also by Lilith Vincent. So yeah, not my favorite from the series. Didn't love the book itself, and I rated it 4 stars and then 4 on the spice scale. It was a solid book, but it just didn't have like the 5-star elements that I wanted. And then I read Losers Part 2 by Harley LaRue. So let's talk about this, because I actually vlogged this thinking that I could hit up a bunch of new releases on the 9th, the 14th, and the 16th. And I was like, oh, I can vlog these new releases. I can get you guys 2 reading vlogs for the holidays. This is gonna be great. But then life decided that it didn't want to do that. I filmed my real-time reactions for Losers, but then the other books I just couldn't get them filmed. And I actually really took a step back from like social media during the holidays. Like I didn't really go on my Instagram. I didn't do anything other than the bare minimum for my business. And I know that sounds kind of hypocritical because like on YouTube I did 5 videos in 5 days. But other than that, I kind of just spent the holidays without my phone a lot, and that was really nice. So I didn't finish this vlog. And so you will probably never see the footage of Losers, because I feel like I don't know where to put it now, but I'll give you guys my review right now. So I rated it 4.5 stars. It was great. It was literally like the same as the book before, but just a little bit more like action in it. And so I enjoyed it. I rated it 4.5 stars and then like 4 on the spice scale. Actually 4.5 on the spice scale. It was fun and it kind of felt like the same book as before. Yes, it didn't have too many like twists and turns in it, but I really enjoyed the characters, so I loved it. Basically the same review as Losers Part 1, honestly, but yeah, I enjoyed it. It was great. And now I'm really wishing that I did put out my live reactions to it, but I genuinely don't know where I would put it, so like you'll probably never see it, which is unfortunate because I was very happy with like the third of this vlog that I did complete. Okay, after I read the rest of the series by Bella Jewel, and it's called the like Dark Brothers series. I don't understand why it's called the Dark Brothers when it's literally just following one brother, and he doesn't even have any other brothers, but maybe she's making more books, who knows. I read book 1 in September and I really enjoyed it, and I hyped up book 2 and 3 way too much. I read them back to back, but they had so much drama in them, I didn't care anymore. I don't think I've actually weirdly recommended book 1, but I enjoyed it a lot, and I said that in my wrap up for September, but book 2 and 3, they had so much drama and so much like action that was so unnecessary, and they were so long, and there's so many twists and turns that I was like rolling my eyes at, and it was a drama-filled time, but weirdly I actually enjoyed it. I wouldn't say this book was like 5 stars or anything. This series was definitely not 5 stars, but a few moments in here I was like, oh, this is really fun. So it was kind of just what I wanted for that time, because I like needed something to pass the time, needed a book to like just read after Losers, and so that was all right. That was nice. I rated both books 4 stars and then 3.75 on the spice scale, and then I reread Escape the Light by A.R. Thomas. I didn't fully reread it, honestly. I just read like snippets of it because I thought that I was going to do a rereading vlog of like my favorites from this year. That didn't happen. So I just read this one. I didn't vlog it because I didn't feel like vlogging it, because guys, once again, vlogging, it's not becoming my favorite thing anymore, but I reread snippets of this one and it was not as good as the first time, but I did still enjoy it, and I also didn't get to my favorite parts, so that might have been why. Yeah, I just reread it to like waste some time basically. And then I read my holiday novellas, so that is that. I'm gonna insert the clips of my thoughts and ratings on each one now. So I started off reading The Mistletoe Bet by Maren Moore. I'm gonna rate this one 3 stars, like I'm gonna rate every single other one in here basically, because it was just a little bit like too basic for me. It was kind of hot, like the dynamics of it, kind of cute, and the smut was actually surprisingly alright, but not my favorite. I rate it 3 stars. And then these aren't gonna be in like exact particular order, these are just the order that I have on Goodreads. So a bit of Christmas Cheer is the next one. This was Unhinged. This was the most insane one I read in this vlog, and I did not enjoy it. I'd honestly rate it 2 stars, but at the same time, it's a novella, and it's like fucking 13 pages, so what else are you gonna expect from it? Yeah, it is a 2-star read for me. Garnish with a Candy Cane by Nikki Blair. This one, I actually surprisingly enjoyed. It was one of my favorites from this vlog, I'd say, and none of these are gonna be like all-time favorites by any means, so that's not saying too much, but I think I'm gonna rate this one like 3.75, 4 stars, because I did actually enjoy it, and I thought it was pretty hot. It was pretty fun, if a little bit unrealistic, but let's be honest, they kind of all are. Then Santa's Little Elf by Darcy Rose, also somewhat of a 4-star read, but I feel like the end just brought it down to like a 3.5 for me, so we're gonna say 3.75, but like maybe we're gonna round it up to 4 on Goodreads. Then The Naughty List by Fenella Ashworth. Yeah, my issue with this was the hero and the fact that his name was Jim, and they were also like in their 40s or something, both divorced. But that being said, it was kind of fun. A little bit. It was kind of there, but not my favorite. And then we ended it off with Mistletoe Mobster by Cassie Mint. This was fun, but after this vlog, I just didn't want to vlog anymore, but I did finish this series of novellas. I think there's 3 of them or something. I finished it, and this one I just felt didn't compare to the other ones. I enjoyed the others more, so this one is also going to be 3 stars. And if you want to see what I rated the other books in that like short novella series, that's on Goodreads. Okay, and then after that, I still read a few more holiday books. So I finished the Very Merry Mob series by Cassie Mint, Silent Silent Night, that one was all right. It started off great and I was like, oh, this is kind of fun, and then it just went downhill from there. I rated it 3 stars. Holly and the Henchman, that wasn't as good. I don't really remember that book very much. I rated it 3 stars, and I said, I mean, it was chill in my review, so that was that. And then I read Tangled in Tinsel by Trilina Pucci. This one, woof, I wasn't planning on reading this one, and then I just picked it up out of nowhere, and it was pretty fun. It was a longer book, weirdly, but it was just full of smut. Merry Christmas, and that's all that it was. But I rated it 3 stars, because it was okay, and then other parts were just like, eh, and the heroine was very annoying to me. Even though I liked the concept of the heroine not being, like, described, and so she could be whatever you wanted her to be, that was fun, but she was just too annoying for me, honestly, and I couldn't imagine her any other way, so she was just too annoying. I rated that 3 stars, and then 4.75 on the spice scale. And then I read Broken Bride by Stella Gray. I, first up, didn't know that this was a series. I thought this was a standalone. Like another book coming up, actually. It was hilarious. But this one, I went into it and I was like, this could be fun. It wasn't. I could predict the future, and it was definitely going to be like a very slow romance trilogy, I think, with way too much like dodging around what's actually going to happen, and way too much just like, I don't know, not doing anything, and way too much filler content. That's the word. And so I put it down right there. I did finish this book, but I just like skimmed the ending. I just thought it was really very mediocre, and the only thing that like I'll take away from this book is how much hero, or like the male main character, called the heroine a bitch, and it was shocking. Like, it was, yeah, shocking. There's no other way to describe it. He called her a bitch like 6 times in the book, and I was like, for what reason? It was so random and hilarious, and it was only hilarious because it was ridiculous. But otherwise, I rated it 3 stars, and then I don't even know what I rated on the spice scale. There was basically nothing that happened in this book. I cannot tell you a single thing that actually went down. It was boring. I will not be continuing, if that wasn't obvious already. And I read Acts of Atonement by Eleanor Aldrich. I knew I wouldn't really like the plot line, so I don't know why I read it. I don't really remember what this book was about. It followed a nanny heroine, and then the hero was a single father and she was babysitting his kid. I don't remember. I honestly should have taken that as a sign, because I don't really like that plot dynamic. It never turns out fun for me, so I should have just taken that sign, but I didn't. I read it. I rated 3 stars and 3 on the spice scale. Definitely did not enjoy that one, because we had some like heavily mediocre books back to back to back. And then I read What Was Meant to Be by QB Tyler. Now this one came out in like the beginning of November, I think, or like maybe it was the end, I don't remember. It came out a while ago and I still hadn't read it, and I was like, you know what, let's read it, whatever. It was fun. I quite enjoyed it. It was an enjoyable time. It was a little bit similar to her other books, though. I saw some similarities, her other books, because I have read like 4 other books by her, and it just had too many similarities for me. There was a lot of things that like happened in other books that happened in this one as well, and I was like, oh, this is not my favorite. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It was just fun overall, honestly. I didn't really read it to get like a deep soulful experience, obviously. It was just a fun time and a great book leading up to the holidays. I don't know, I always wanted to read like good books around significant times in your life. Like on my birthday, I want to read a really great book. On Halloween, I want to read a really great book. And so I was just like, oh, I think this could be a really great book that I could read. But yeah, I rated that 4 stars and 4 on the spice scale. And speaking of reading good books around holiday events, Requiem, I don't know, by Callie Hart. This was a boarding school, high school romance, I think, and I should have just listened to that and gone the other direction. Honestly, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't good, though. It was not good. It was really confusing because there were so many twists and like so many surprises, and I didn't like them. And so that is why I didn't like the book. I rated it 3 stars, and I said this was good, but it was like all over the place with too many surprises, blah, blah, blah. I didn't really enjoy it, and I didn't feel the writing or the characters. Yeah, that was another one. They were supposed to be like soulmates, completely in love, multiple lifetimes. I didn't get that. I didn't even get that they hated each other either. Like, make up your mind, choose one, because I couldn't detect either. Okay, this is our second to last book. This one, it was really funny. So I saw this on my Kindle and it popped up like 3 times, and I was like, okay, this might be a sign, let's read it. I didn't realize that it was book 3 in a series about the same couple, and so I was smack dab in the middle of their already like built dynamic from the previous 2 books, and surprisingly I actually understood a bit. Like, I wasn't clueless. That was very interesting, and I actually enjoyed it. I didn't understand a lot of events that had like taken place before, but it felt like a marriage in trouble kind of thing, because I didn't really get to see them together in the beginning, because I skipped 2 books, and it was kind of fun, honestly. I thought it was a little like toss up from what I normally read, I don't think I'll do this again, and I realized about 13% in that like, oh shit, there was previous books in this series. And then I actually went to read book 1 just to like see maybe I should start from the beginning if I like it so far. I didn't like book 1, so that's fine. I just read book 3 instead, and didn't understand too much about it, but I still liked it. It was weird. I don't plan on doing that again. And I was super excited to tell you guys about that because I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I did that. And then I only realized until 13%. So I rated it 4 stars, and that's kind of that. I probably won't recommend it because I didn't read the previous books to tell you what it's actually about. I just know that they didn't like each other at the end, and then they did. And that's that. And then the last book I read this month was Things I Wanted to Say But Never Didn't by Monica Murphy. Now, I know a lot of y'all were excited that I was reading this series by her, and that's because it was in my reacting to your top reads of this year video. And somebody said this book, or like one of the books in this trilogy by her, and so I was like, fine, I'll read it. And I did, and I quite enjoyed it. It was pretty fun. I rated it 4 stars, I think. I was in the mood for a boarding school romance after I read Requiem, I don't know. I didn't really like that book, but I liked the aesthetic of the boarding school, so I was like, let me try another one. And this one was fun. I didn't like the drama of them not being able to be together, and the fact that it was like almost 500 pages long, but other than that, I liked the beginning more. I felt like it, yeah, dragged on a little bit too much, but other than that, it was pretty fun. And yeah, I rated it 4 stars, and I will be reading the rest of the series at the beginning of January, so keep an eye out for my January wrap-up of those ones. Okay, everyone, that is the end of today's video. Powered through that wrap-up. That was 28 books. That's the most I've read in a very long time, but let's just keep in mind that last December, my first video on my channel actually was my December reading wrap-up. That's crazy. I read 35 books in December of last year. And I read 28 this December, so what a change. This still was one of my busiest months of the year, I think. But anyway, thank you guys very much for watching my wrap-up. Happy 1-year anniversary on BookTube to me. Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to 2023. Hope you guys have a great year. All of that. My Goodreads, my Instagram, my wish list, and my email are down in the description. Thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe before you go. I appreciate you guys very, very much, and I'll see you in my next video very soon.